Hello and welcome. Today we are going to be talking about books that I technically didn't DNF, but also did not finish. I was thinking about this the other night where I realized that there's a fair amount of books on my shelves where I have started them. Some of them I made it fairly far into the books, and then I just stopped. And I don't consider them DNFs. So let's go through. I think there's like 10, 12 books? 12 books altogether. So let's go through and let's see some of the books that are on my shelves that I did not technically DNF, but also never finished. So starting out, we have The Blackhawks by David Ragg. So I made it. Is the bookmark still in here? It is. Let's see. So I made it to page 208. So that's chapter 16. And this book is only 425. So I made it halfway. I made it halfway through the book. And this one, I did choose to set it aside. And it was because I kept internally comparing it to Kings of the Wild, because when this came out, that's what it was comped to. It was like Kings of the Wild meets whatever. And a lot of people who had read it were like, oh, if you really liked Kings of the Wild, or you like Joe Abercrombie or Scott Lynch, like, you will really love this book. I've only read The Shattered Sea by Abercrombie, and then I haven't read Lynch, but Kings of the Wild is like my favorite book of all time. Like, the channel is named after it. And so I kept, unfortunately, like, comparing this to it, and it was making me enjoy it less. And so I was like, I need to stop and put this down and go back to it with like a fresh mind, thinking of it in a different way to give it a true, honest shot. And I haven't done that yet, but I do plan to do that. I have a sequel as well. So I do think there is something here within this book that I can enjoy. This is why I can't do the whole, if you like this, you'll like that, because it literally affects my reading. So that was why I ended up putting this one down. Up next, we have Brahm. We have Krampus by Brahm. So Krampus the Yule Lord. And this one, I made it to, because the bookmark is still there, I made it to 239. I have this much left. And this one, I put this one down. I want to say I started this 3 years ago. I think that's how long I've had my sister's book, because this is my sister's. I want to say I'm probably going on 3 years of having this now, but I put it down because the last chapter that I read, Krampus just talked and talked and talked and talked and talked and talked and talked. And I was like, shut up, Krampus. Shut up. Like, it's not, and it's such a weird thing to say because, like, I want dialogue in my books when I read them, but Krampus was just, it was one of those scenes where he was just, like, on his soapbox and was just talking, and I was just like, oh my goodness, if you don't shut your mouth. If you don't just shut your mouth. And so after I had finished that, I set it aside and I was like, I'm just going to take a couple days break and then I'll go back to it. Clearly that hasn't happened. The thing is, though, I have to actually finish this. I would like to finish it this year because I need to give it back to my sister, because she's like, can I have my book back? And I'm like, maybe. Maybe. At least she knows it's in good hands because I take care of my books. So she at least has that going for her. Next up, we have Empire of Silence by Christopher Rocchio. So I only made it 50 pages into this. And that was because I got it from the library the year it came out. So the year it came out, I got it from the library because I saw this at the bookstore and I was like, I like that cover. I like that guy on the cover. But I didn't buy it because I didn't have the money at the time. So I was like, I'll get it from the library and even see if it's worth buying. And I read 50 pages of it and I was like, I have to own this book because I'm very much enjoying it. So I returned it to the library and bought my copy, which I paid $7 for this, you guys. When it originally came out, I paid $7. Uh, it's one of the few things I like to flex about this particular copy. I know they're back in print now, but for a while there, they were super hard to get, and like people would always be like, "Oh my God, you have the first one," and I'm like, "I paid $7." But anyways, after I had bought it, I was like, okay, I'll restart it next week or whatever, and then that never happened, and I still haven't picked it back up. And now that it's like one of the most popular series right now, I have an aversion to picking it up, because I have this problem with picking up current popular trending books, because I don't want to seem like I'm just following the hype on everything. So that is why I have not gone back and picked this up, because it's currently just like the highlight of everything. And I plan on it because I have all of this. Like, all of that is Rockio. So I plan on reading it because I was enjoying it. Just, I have to, my brain has to wait until things like come down a little bit. I should have read it back when it first came out. That way I could be like, ooh, look what I read and you didn't. So, and moving on. Next we have the middle grade book Scavengers by Darren Simpson. So I made it halfway through this book. I was really, really, really enjoying it. And then some stuff happened in my life, and I put all of my books aside and never went back to it. So I do plan on going back, giving it a try. I really liked the storytelling in general. It's a kid who lives in a landfill, if I remember correctly, and just going back to it. I know once I do go back to it, I'll probably read it within a day or two. So it has nothing to do with the book itself. It was just some stuff came up in my life, and I ended up setting everything aside. Then we have The Expert Systems Champion by Adrian Tchaikovsky. So this is the follow-up to The Expert Systems Brother, which I did enjoy, and I do own that one as well. When I started this one, though, I did not remember anything from the first novella. And I was really confused, and I was like, I'm going to have to reread the first novella so that I can go back and read this one. And then that idea put me off, and so I set it aside, and I was like, eventually I will do that. So that's why I ended up putting this one down, because I was just lost and confused. I was like, what's going on? I don't remember this stuff. Next we have They Mostly Come Out at Night by Benedict Patrick. So I have attempted to read this book 3 times, and each time I get to the second chapter and I set it down and I walk away. And it's not because I don't like the content that's in it, because the short story that is free to read, I love it. I love the short story that is free on Kindle. It's just every time that I've attempted to read it, it's not the right time. It's one of those kind of situations, like, because it's like it's a spooky story, it's I think it's classified as like fantasy horror. It's dark fantasy. That's what it says on the back of here. But it has like those very horror dark elements and stuff, and normally I have no problem reading spooky books outside of like October, but for like some reason this particular book is like October only. Like, I don't know why. That's just what my brain tells me. And then October comes and I end up reading a bunch of middle grade stuff, and then I miss the opportunity. So it's just bad timing every single time I try and read it. But I will read it. I want to. That's the worst part, is the fact that like I want to. Then we have Gear Breakers by Zoe Hanamakuta. So this is YA. As you guys know, love-hate relationship. That's just how I am with YA. And this one, it started out pretty strong. I want to say, I think I already removed the bookmark, but I want to say I made it about 3 or 4 chapters into it. And about 3 or 4 chapters. And I was really enjoying what I was reading. I thought the writing was really good. The characters were pretty interesting. I'm mainly looking forward to the giant mecha, because I love mechs. So, I'm a little Gundam fan. So, I want to read this, and I don't remember why I set it aside. I think I ended up picking up a different YA book at the same time, and that one ended up being like abysmal for me. And so I was like, I can't read two YAs at the same time, because I'm just gonna transfer the feelings of this, how I felt about this YA, to that YA, and then I'm not gonna give it its true, like, attempt, and I can't do that. Like, I have to read YA books like one at a time. I cannot read multiple at the same time because I have such a love-hate relationship with it. So at some point, I'm gonna give that one another shot. Then we have Black Sun Rising by C.S. Friedman. So I actually started this one this year and set it aside. I made it to chapter 5. And I'm enjoying it. I did enjoy it at the time when I started it. And I ended up setting it aside because I picked up a different, heavier fantasy series. And then I was like, I have to pick between the two. And so I set this one aside, and I was like, I'll try again a little bit later. That's the only reason why. Just because I was trying to, I don't know, like, sometimes I feel like I over-encumber myself with, like, trying to read too much at one time, and then I end up having to put books aside. So, then we have The Forever Sea by Joshua Philip Johnson. The bookmark is still in this one, and I made it to page 90. That is in the middle of a chapter. And I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret. I don't stop in the middle of chapters. I'm a chapter reader. So the fact that I just like blatantly stopped in the middle of a chapter tells me that I stopped because something probably happened, like in my personal life. And the past like 2 years, my personal life has actually been intervening in a lot of my reading. And it's kind of frustrating when I think about it, because I'm just like, bro, I just want to read my books. If my personal life could stop ruining everything, that'd be fantastic. So yeah, that was why I stopped this one. What I had read, I do remember enjoying it and liking it, and hopefully when I go back to it, I will continue to love it. I do still really love this cover. I think it's gorgeous. Like, just this ship out in the middle of fields. Beautiful. Next we have A Plague of Giants by Kevin Hearn. So this one, I don't think the bookmark's in here. No, it is actually. I made it to 102. And I was enjoying it. I wouldn't say I was in love with it, but I was enjoying it. But then I made the mistake of reading his book, How to Kill a Farm Boy, that series that he did. He co-wrote it with another author. I don't remember her name. And I had started this one, and then I started that one at the same time, and I finished it. And then I read through that series, and it progressively got worse. The To Kill a Farm Boy trilogy, it progressively got worse. And so it put like this like foul taste in my mouth, and I was like, this is different because this is more epic fantasy, whereas that was more like comedic fantasy. And I now have this like really bad taste in my mouth because I'm like, Kevin Hearn and this other author really wasn't funny in my opinion. And so I had to stop reading this, or else it would have affected my enjoyment of this one, because I would have still been in the mindset of, wow, that last series I read by him became trash. Like it just went, because like I enjoyed the first book, and then it just declined, and it was a little frustrating. So I was like, have to stop. And then the last one for this video is Rise of Empire by Michael J. Sullivan. This is volume 2 of the Rhaeria Revelations, and I finished the first one. So technically, I guess you could say that it's not like I stopped in the middle of a book, because if you guys know about the series, there's two books per volume. And so I finished book 3. And so I was supposed to start book 4. But what ended up happening, and this is going to sound extremely petty, and I know it does, and it's something that I don't like about myself, but when I had started reading the Rhaeria series in general, I didn't have my booktube channel at the time, and I had my blog instead, and I was trying to get like, noticed as a reviewer. And when I read the first volume, I read it, I reviewed it, I put it up and everything, it got a fair amount of attention, and then the three like biggest fantasy blogs all decided to read the series at the exact same time that I was reading it, and they were like back to back to back to back to back. And so my reviews, my thoughts, everything that I was saying on it were getting drowned out by those bigger platforms, and it just became frustrating because like as a newer reviewer, I was trying to like make a name for myself. I was trying to like get into the community, and it felt impossible because the series is known enough to where enough people will see it, but because I was being drowned out by these like bigger voices, it just became this demoralizing battle. And it's a personal thing. Like I saw it as like this competition of who could get out there first, and they got it out there first, and I was just like, well, now there's no point because nobody's gonna pay attention to me because I'm just some tiny small nobody reviewer. Like nobody cares about my opinion, they just care about those three big blogs. And so I lost the steam to read it. I plan on going back to reading it. That's something that I'm personally trying to tackle about myself. And it's just because I grew up always being compared to other people. So it's unfortunately like ingrained in me to like compare myself to other people because I have been compared to other people my entire life. So I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna continue the series because I love Hadrian. He is one of my favorite characters of all time. And so I do want to see like how his story plays out. But that is the main reason why I ended up putting this one aside. It sucks, it's petty, it's a stupid reason, and I understand that, but it's just like, that's how my brain works at times, unfortunately, and it's something I'm trying to be in everything and not be all the time. But yeah, so those are the 12 books on my shelves that I have significantly put effort into and didn't exactly DNF them, but also never finished them, and I'm not writing them off yet. So they all will get their second chance, and hopefully when I go back into them that second time, that my reading experience will be better for them. So if you guys have read any of these, let me know down in the comments, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!